Hazelnuts are a lie. You're drinking zombie orange juice. They're hiding paper in your food. It sounds kind of crazy when I start in the middle like that. Let's actually take it a step back. In the beginning, there were grapes and olives, and they were good. About peanut M&M size, one was salty, one was grapes. They made us less hungry without killing us, and told us they weren't poisoned by not tasting like asshole. That was the basic agreement with food. You make us less hungry without poisoning us, maybe add a little something sweet for daddy, and we in return will poop your seeds all over the place in our naturally fertilizing poop. It was a crude arrangement, but it worked. We cooked our food in the oil from olives, had our sex while drunk on grapes. Life was good. When it was really good, we hired people to feed us grapes. But eventually we got so good at cultivating these plants that everything went to shit. Today, grapes are mostly known as the worst flavor of everything. When we become candy millionaires as kids on Halloween, it's the first candy that gets thrown out. Future archaeologists will mark each passing year by the layers of purple Jolly Ranchers and grape blow pops descending down into the earth like a layer cake from hell. Grapes didn't change. They're still delicious, and we never figured out a better way to make wine. So why does grape-flavored everything taste like other fruit flavors mixed with burnt plastic? Because these days your food and its flavor are usually handled by completely separate industries. And the flavor industry's resume mostly consists of covering for smelly dudes by tricking other people into thinking they smell f***able. Olives are still a workhorse. They kill the taste of our most flammable alcoholic drinks and make the best, healthiest cooking oil we know how to make still. You know how drug dealers taste test cocaine before giving you the briefcase of money? They're paying you for the cocaine? No? Well, olive oil's so much better than the other oils, they have machines specifically designed to taste test the purity of extra virgin olive oil to make sure nobody's replacing it with cheap bullshit substitute oil. The first cheap bullshit substitute oil they test for? Hazelnut oil. Yes, hazelnuts are so cheap, they literally have a bullshit detector to keep people from pretending they were respectable food. Phew! Bullet dodged for the olive oil barons. Unfortunately, the people who invented that machine are really good at isolating chemical compounds of flavors like hazelnuts. And their other interests include tricking you into giving them your money and keeping your money. Those are really their main things. One day those guys were like, hey, you know that mutually beneficial agreement where food tells us to eat it by not tasting like asshole? Well, what if we could hack that feedback loop by adding weird chemicals? And what if, just hear me out here, we could make that guy whose money I want think he was eating delicious, life-sustaining food, but we were really selling him the stuff that tastes like asshole on account of you're not supposed to eat it. You may recognize this, attracting your mark with something that only smells sweet, as the same tactic used by Venus flytraps. When humans do it to other humans, it's called flavor engineering. And they've used it to make hazelnuts taste like chocolate-flavored butter and melted vanilla ice cream. They didn't even bother making the hazelnut-flavored products taste the same, just as long as it tastes like one of the main ingredients in ice cream sundaes. That isn't nuts. To see how perfume companies get involved, let's look at the fresh squeezed orange juice in your fridge, which is less fresh than you might think. At some point during the 90s, the orange juice industry decided they were tired of being the second least credible OJ in America. So they started tinkering with the manufacturing process of the one product that commits to the details of the manufacturing process right there in the name. They decided to see if they could store their fresh squeezed juice in giant vacuum-sealed holding tanks, take it out a year later, and trick you into drinking it. But they had a problem. When it came out of the tanks a year later, the year-old juice, or as it had been known up to that point in history, orange garbage water, has no taste. Millions of years of evolution had provided our faces with a face alarm made out of senses, and it was telling you, well, something's not right here. They're trying to feed you zombie orange juice, dude, run. This is where the cologne guys come in. The OJ people hired the company that formulated CK1 to create a chemical cocktail that would not just override your face alarm, but actually use it against you. The cocktail, known as a flavor pack, would trick your alarm into telling you, yo, we are nostrils deep in juicy fresh orange over here, even though you are actually drinking dead, flavorless fruit muck with a glorified citrus-scented air freshener hidden inside. And that's what they do with a product you'll only buy if it's 100% pure. Imagine what they put in the food whose ingredients you don't even pay attention to. Wait, actually, I should just tell them what they do, right? Hey, did you guys catch that joke in the background where I was like, they make everything in the sundae out of hazelnuts except nuts, which they probably made out of cardboard. That was a funny joke, right? Cardboard? I feel like we have fun together. Only it wasn't a joke. They're replacing the flour and oil in food with cellulose, which is unrefined newspaper. It's cheaper, better at binding food together, and totally indigestible by humans. But what cellulose lacks in technically being food, it more than makes up for in keeping the lumber industry humming. It's either this or offload it through a pant leg in the prison yard. Here's a quick list of all the food you're eating that is at least partially made of indigestible wood pulp. Even if you love sushi, you've probably never tasted wasabi. If you're from America, that was horseradish, mustard, and green food coloring run through whatever machine makes the foam they stick flowers in. Oh, and while we're interrupting your sushi dinner, that person who keeps repeating, so fresh, oh my God, so fresh between each bite, probably doesn't realize their salmon had to be dyed that color. Salmon color. Most salmon today is raised on a farm and fed something called aquamarine pellets and arrives at the grocery store or restaurant as gray as Anderson Cooper's grandfather's pubes. While we have our fluorescent orange paintbrush out, let's talk crab meat. As this video with an upbeat 80s work safety soundtrack demonstrates, most crab meat starts out as cheap scraps of the type of whitefish they can't sell people with eyes. From there, it's just a quick trip through seafood hell as it gets pulverized into a lumpy white slurry, frozen, shaved into flakes, ground in a vat, and formed into a rope that's then sliced up. Also, that's how you kill Jason Voorhees to make sure he stays dead. And it's not dissimilar from the process by which they glue the steak you bought at the local grocery store together. That's not one steak. It's something called meat glue, because f*** you guys, this time we're going on vacation to space! Americans spent $1.8 trillion on food last year, which is about 10% of the gross domestic product and twice what we spent on gas. And yet we picture that industry as a bunch of fat businessmen in bolo ties manipulating the prices and jerking off into piles of money. Because they totally are doing that. Point is, we give the food industry a pass, and we shouldn't. Truth is, the food industry is much closer to the tobacco industry back before we knew they were trying to kill us. Can you imagine if the food industry tried some bullshit like this ad for smoking featuring their greatest athlete? Oh, right. See, it's their job to make food seem more complicated than it actually is. We're bombarded with fad diets and health foods that taste like cardboard and delicious foods that are made of cardboard. When someone tells you that people who eat Mediterranean diets live longer, you're too exhausted to research what Mediterranean people eat. I mean, who the f knows, right? And that's actually exactly how they want it.
Roll sound, roll cameras, and action.
And a small comet, B1 CEO BG2, will pass by tonight, coming closer to Earth than the moon's orbit.
Okay, team, gather round.
Are you really trying to get us excited about calling people for money they don't have?
If you phrase it differently than that, then yes. If you want to smoke, go behind the electronuclear plant next door.
I feel like if I'm nice, they walk all over me, you know?
Yeah. All right, assholes, listen up.
We just got superpowers.
Me too, for sure.